If you've ever wondered whether eating breakfast is a good thing or a bad thing for losing weight, then watch this video because I'm going to share with you why most dieting advice about breakfast is flat out wrong, why making the wrong choice for breakfast can be a disaster for losing weight, and what the right answer actually is for whether you should eat breakfast or not. And at the end of the video, I'm also going to share with you how you can figure out the exact right decision regarding breakfast for yourself. This is the advice I give to clients at my weight loss clinic, and over the years I've noticed that it really works. So let's get started. Number 1, most dieting advice. You've probably been told one of two things when it comes to breakfast and losing weight. Either A, don't eat breakfast at all, or B, eat a hearty breakfast. We'll look at each of these in this video. Now, not eating breakfast at all seems to make sense. After all, if you miss an entire meal, surely that's going to help your weight loss. Now, it does seem that way, but often it's not the case. I'll explain why in a moment. But the bigger problem here is being told that you should eat in a particular way, like you're told to with so many diets, and this is not good because just like with sleep, where some people are early birds and others are night owls, I've found over the years with working with hundreds of clients that we all have an optimum eating pattern that suits us. This means there's no absolute right answer. It depends on the person. I've become more and more convinced that your pattern of eating, your meal rhythm, is a crucial part of finding a more natural, healthy relationship with food, and time spent figuring out what your ideal eating pattern is well rewarded. And I'll show you exactly how to do that later in the video. Number 2, why skipping breakfast can be a disaster. So as I mentioned earlier, you would think that skipping a meal like breakfast would be a positive for weight loss. And yes, it might be, but equally I've seen situations where skipping a meal makes people more hungry for lunch, and then they make all sorts of bad eating decisions at lunch. The other thing to mention here is that I've had many clients who felt it was best to skip breakfast because they never felt hungry in the mornings. But why didn't they feel hungry in the mornings? When I looked at their eating, I could see that they were snacking well into the night. If you eat very late, it's not a surprise if you're not hungry in the mornings. In many cases, when a client rebalances their eating rhythm and eats less at night before sleeping, their hunger returns in the mornings. Number 3, so should you eat breakfast or not? The answer is don't listen to others. Listen to yourself. Find what works for you. But there's a particular way to find out what works for you, and I'll tell you about that very shortly. Some people gravitate to fasting and it works well for them, but others find it makes them miserable and too hungry and makes them make bad decisions for lunch. So if fasting isn't for you, should you eat a lot for breakfast instead? You might remember the saying, eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, dinner like a pauper. And I've seen with plenty of clients that this can be a problem, where they unnecessarily overeat for breakfast and then feel heavy and sluggish for the rest of the morning. Again, it all comes down to what works for you. No one else can give you a one-size-fits-all solution to this question. Remember, the philosophy of my weight loss channel is long-term weight loss, only doing things that you're willing to do forever, because weight loss is only successful if it's permanent. So it's worth figuring out an eating pattern that works for you. But if you take a few days or a week or so to experiment, you'll soon figure it out. And let me tell you now the best way to do this. The best way is with a food diary. Write down the day, the date, the time, and then what you ate and drank. And then note down how you feel after eating. For instance, if you regularly feel overfull and sluggish after breakfast, then you're eating too much. And then look at how much you ate after breakfast and at lunch. For instance, if you're not eating breakfast and feeling miserable and starving by 11 a.m. and then snacking on pastries, well, this is obviously not good. With my clients, when I review their food diary, we soon see patterns to different eating decisions, and it soon becomes clear what the best eating pattern should be. You will be able to do the same thing. But of course, speaking about breakfast like this just brings up the next obvious point. Should you skip lunch? Or at the very least have a light lunch if you want to lose weight? And the answer might surprise you, since I've found lunch to be a completely different case from breakfast. And you can find out more in this video. I'll see you there.